Welcome to the Northeast Kingdom Voice. I'm your host, Scott Wheeler. Our guest today is Maria Lyons, a widow and an author, and she wraps it all into one about love, loss, and finding love again. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Todd and Scott, for inviting me to speak today. And perhaps, our goal today is to shed some hope, some laughter in this kind of a journey that we all walk as widows and widowers. And for those that are seeking relationships, but don't know quite how to approach it.
Right. Yeah, I don't know exactly how we met. Was it through our worldwide widow groups? Because
Yes.
NENs, because I have a lot of because you're a Filipina and my wife is a Filipina, and so I asked her. I said, "Is Maria one of your friends?" And she says, "Nope." I said, "Oh, I must have met her on one of the sites."
Yes, and that's exactly how we met. You posted a wedding picture, and I knew exactly when I saw that photo that it was a backdrop of the Philippines. And of course, when I saw that she was Filipina, so I was connected right there and then. I didn't know you, didn't know your wife, but then I commented. And that was how you and I got to know each other. And we talked a little bit more and we accepted each other's friend request um, online, and that's how we got started.
And you've been in this country, the United States, now for what, 40 years?
A little bit over, I'd say total of about 44, 45 years now.
Right. And we also have the unfortunate, the being unfortunate enough to have lost partners,
Yeah,
and well, actually, Nens as well. She's lost her husband to cancer. I lost my wife to cancer, and I understand you lost your husband to cancer.
absolutely. I know whenever we hear that word cancer, yeah, you see on the back of vehicles where it has the words, F cancer.
Yeah,
Back then, when I used to read that and I go, why would they say that? And so now I know.
right, right.
And so, yes, and about that dreadful time, the experience of loss, I was married to a wonderful guy. He was Caucasian. He was from the Gulf Coast of Mississippi. And we were married for 42 years, and we have five beautiful, amazing children. And I have 14 grandkids. And we have a beautiful story as I look back when I started writing this book. And what inspired me to write this book was, um, you know, I joined many different support groups just to find my home. I didn't know what I was going through. I didn't know that was grief. I didn't know. Nobody ever told me. And so when I was with the widows and widower groups that I have attended, everybody had the same common denominator. I'm lonely. How do I move forward? And where do I start? Where do I begin? I never dated, it was like it's been 40 or 50 years and now I'm back in the dating pool. How do we do this? So as I got to know some and I started, being active and communicating with a lot of the widows and widowers, that was what inspired me to look at my life. And when I started dating online, oh, that's a hoot. I got to share that story. And and to when I met and to where I prayed fervently, being a strong devout Catholic that I am, born and raised, and I knew what prayer really was. And I I felt all of that even more so when I was going through my journey of grief. And that was what inspired me to write a book after I met Anthony. And that was when everything changed. And that was the inspiration.
Did you meet him online?
No, no, no. I met him in church. And so 1 year of online dating. And I wanted to know when my friends asked me, why did you join online dating? And my family were just shaking their head like, oh my goodness, my sister, you're 66. Really? Online dating? And I said, well, the reason for me doing that was I just wanted to see what was out there. What are men looking for? Why are they online? What is it? And because I've not been in that, stage of dating and getting to know another man and speaking differently, I did miss that conversation, that intellectual conversation. I missed that. And I didn't know how much I missed it until I started communicating with some men. And yes, there were some good, nice men, there were some not so good, and there were the scammers.
Right.
And I experienced all of them. And, it taught me a lot of things about how to detect the good ones from the bad ones and the scammers.
Right. Oh, yeah. I never actually got to the dating scene. I've never like you might think, well, how did I get remarried? Well, I never dated. I was nearing a year out, and we were on a widow site, and we just started communicating. It was just obscure little things,
Right.
and next thing I know, next thing I know, here we are. We're married.
Oh, there you
We
go.
never.
And that's what I noticed from the widowers group, that there's a lot that connect because we have one thing in common and we understand it and we get it and we walk in the same shoes. And there's a lot of respect when it comes to that, kind of a dating. And I experienced it when I was dating men. Most of them were divorced. And such a big difference when you are with someone that has walked the same path, the same journey.
Absolutely. Now, is your husband, your current husband, is he has he been widowed?
No, he hasn't been. He was divorced for 15 years, but he lost his only son to cancer.
Oh,
And he was
oh.
38 years old, and they were so close, so tight, best of friends. And so, he was from California and he is Italian, but born and raised in the US. Parents are first generation, migrated from Italy to the US, and they spoke Italian and Spanish at home and learned English while he was in school because parents didn't speak English. And he landed a great job, was taught well by his family about hard work and ethics, and landed a great job. And that job took him to Colorado and was there. And his son traveled around with his job and landed in Arizona. And they bought a house together. He says, you know what? I'd love to come and be in Arizona to escape the snow at times when I need to. So they bonded really well. And then when he was diagnosed with cancer at a young age of 38, and he was engaged and planning a family and planning a future, that devastated him. And he came to Arizona to be with him and cared for him until the end, until his last breath. So he had a house and he says, okay, so I can either choose to go back to Colorado or California or stay here. So he loved the weather, loved everything. He realized that he didn't have to shovel snow anymore
Mm.
and more. He was an outdoorsy person, so he saw that there was a life here to doing outdoors. So he stayed here and he devoted his life to the Catholic Church, became very active, and of course prayed a lot and says, Lord, I'm 66 and I don't, it would be great to have somebody in my life, but where do I find this special someone in my life when I don't go out? I don't do this, I don't do that, like what most single men do. I'm not an online person. So if it is meant to be that I am to be with someone, then it's going to happen through you. And his son said, Dad, I don't want to see you alone. You're a cool dad, you're a great guy. I'd love to see you happy and be with someone. And that was when he said, oh, my son, I just want to dedicate my life to being here with you and then serving the Lord. And then he says, well, if that's not going to happen through you because you're not going out, let me see what I can do. I'll find someone for you. That was before he became sick, because he was techie, and he says, oh, the only way I can find someone for my dad could be online. So of course that didn't happen. So that was in the back of his mind, that subliminal thought, like, Lord, if ever there is someone in my life that you want me to be with, she's going to have to appear because of you, not by me looking. And so that was his prayer. And then for me, after 1 year of online dating, I said, okay, I'm done. I, I'm done. Let me take a break here. Because you know what? That was a lot of work. Because I didn't want to just look at online dating. Yeah, it happens, it happens. I really wanted to give my time. I had the time. I'm retired. I wanted to give it the honest effort. If I'm going to do this, I want to do this realistically. So
But
when I was done with all of that, I said, okay, Lord, Mother Mary, I'm done. I'm not going to renew. I want to take a break. And if whoever that person is that I need to be with, you're going to make it happen for me. You know who I am. You know, you made me, you created me. You know who's going to be that perfect person for me. Because when my husband was passing, he was holding my hand and he says, thank you for an amazing 42 years. I loved all the adventures you've given me. You're young, you're beautiful, you're intelligent. I want you to live life and continue life. Promise me you're not going to be alone. Promise me that there will be that special someone that you can share with that new person what I had. And I'm going, you've got to be kidding me. And there I was holding his hand. And then he says, no, 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 I'm serious, please. And I said, okay, okay, I'm listening, I'm listening. This is weird. I said, okay, I'm listening. So he says, so if, well, you know what? I'll guide you. I'll guide you. Somehow I'm going to connect with you. And that's when he says, get a wind chime with a Gregorian chant that you love. I know you love wind chimes. Get that wind chime that you love. And whenever it chimes, you know I'm talking to you. That's a sign. And I'm going, okay. So I did. After he passed, I asked my son to take me to a garden store and found the perfect wind chime with a chime that I know he and I love. And so it's been my comfort and, talking to it when it chimes. And, it was my journey of grieving. And I didn't know that was what I was doing. And all kinds of things that I did to get through this journey. And that's what's in the book. So the book is has romance, has fun, has humor, laughter, has tears, all woven into the journey, what I went through. And my goal, my hope, and my friends, my family asked me, so what's your purpose in writing this book? So when I was searching for a publisher for the book, they asked me the question, so what is your goal for this book, Maria? And I said, I lived in the Philippines as an adult for 15 years with my late husband. I am a devout Catholic, and I saw so many churches that could use the help of rebuilding, fixing them up. And there they were, still worshiping, praising, worship, and the church was falling apart. And I go, what do wealthy men do that they don't see this? You know, just a few hundreds of dollars can fix this and change this. And look at these people. They're not complaining. They're still there with all of their faith. And I said, if I could just find another stream of income that I can help these churches. So that was one. Number two, because I didn't share this with you yet, but while my husband, my late husband, and I retired and lived in the Philippines, there was a bad storm that came through in 2013, and the islands were all devastated. And the one across from my island was severely damaged, and we were affected. So there were thousands and thousands of children that were orphaned. A lot of families were brought to my island to take refuge. They lost their homes. A huge tsunami wiped out their entire area, their homes, and Cebu became a place of refuge. Because it shut down, whoever wanted to volunteer, we held hands and I said, okay, let's form a team, let's volunteer, let's help other children, let's help families. So we helped in preparing food and meals and solicited to different restaurants, and they did lovingly. They outpoured their love of serving food and clothing and whatever else that everybody could do to help out these families. On the last day of feeding, and I was helping with the feeding, and on the last day of the feeding, that was when a young man, I was sweeping the floors with the nuns around me after feeding 400 plus children. There was a guy that approached me, and I looked at him and I said, "Hey, have you eaten?" And he says, "Oh, yes, ma'am, I have." "Oh, okay, how can I help you?" And he says, "Well, I've seen you in the different churches and town, and I've seen you work with children because there I was helping the kids, having raised five children. The children were just dear with me. And he says, I found this child and I'm not the father, but I picked up this child from the rubble from where I came from. And I'm about to leave, get on board the bus that's going to take me back to my island. I'm going to look for my family. But I can't do that with this child. And I'm here to give this child to you." And I go, "You got to be kidding me." "Oh, no, 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 no. No, 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 not me. No, no, you got it all wrong." And the nun that was nearby, she says, "Oh, my dear, you got to get that baby. That baby is being handed to you because if you don't take that baby, guess what? They leave them on the sidewalk." And I go, "Oh, no, no, no." So I picked up that child from him, and the child was just wrapped up in a long adult t-shirt, didn't have any clothes and no diaper. And I go, "Oh dear, it's a girl." Okay. And then the guy goes, "God bless you, ma'am, and Merry Christmas." That was December 20th of 2013. And I go, "Just like that?" And I was right next to a chapel. I went inside the chapel and I said, "Lord, what's the meaning to all this? I cannot have another child in my life. David and I are retired. We're senior citizens. We cannot raise another child. I've done it, five kids, and I have 10 grandkids. I'm done. I want to be able to do the things that I love to do as a retiree with David. David and I have plans, and we're going to do this, do that. But don't worry, I'm going to find a perfect family for this child. I know the kind of family this child needs to be with." So I took that child with me, strapped her in the front seat of the car, and put my bags around because there was no car seat. And then I go,
Oh
"Okay,
yeah.
just hang in there, kid." And the guy just looked at me. He says, "God bless you, man. Merry Christmas." And I said, "Just like that? Oh my goodness, no paperwork, nothing." I go, "Okay." So then I was to meet my sister at a restaurant after the feeding because we were about to go visit the mall. The malls in the Philippines are pretty festive,
Oh yeah.
especially during Christmas time. And I said, "Yeah, let's do a little Christmas date and just have fun and enjoy." Well, I told her, "Let me meet you at the restaurant now." And so she met me there and she saw me carrying a child and she goes, "What's this?" I said, "You can't believe this story. Oh my gosh, have our lives changed? But wait, wait, wait. We can't go to the mall. I have to do something. I gotta find a place for this child." So immediately I called a pediatrician. And doctors in the Philippines, majority of them are in malls. They have offices in malls. So that was where I knew pediatricians were. So immediately I went, and it was around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And there was a security guard. And I asked him, I said, "Hey, which of these offices are still open?" And then he goes, "Oh, this one on the fourth floor." And I said, "Okay, great. Now there's a lot of pediatricians on this list. I need to see a pediatrician, a good one. Among all of these, if you were to bring your child, who would it be?" And he says, "Oh, this one for sure. She's been here the longest and she's been the busiest." And I said, "That's the one I need to go to." So I went, knocked on the door. The secretary opened. And then I said, "I know you're about to close. It's a Friday of Christmas. I need to see the doctor real quick. This is the story." And the doctor says, "Yes, I'll be happy to see the baby." So she diagnosed the baby malnourished, big distended belly. And she goes, "Oh, the belly so full. You know what could be in here?" And I said, "I know, I know." And so, give her the skincare because she has a lot of rashes and scabs on her body, and that's what I did. And I told her the story, and she wrote, she says, "Okay, this will be your first official medical report, and I'll be happy to give this to you because you're going to need this when you're going to be going through the police report, when you're going to be going through a little bit of an investigation how you landed this baby. And I said, okay. So she knew, and that was helpful. That was good. And I went to the grocery store after that and I go, okay, diapers and formula and a baby bottle. I'll figure out the clothing later. So I did that and I prayed that night and I said, Lord, what is the meaning to all of this? Now, David at that time was still in the US, here in Arizona. He was selling all kinds of things, our house, our furnishings, because he was going to go to the Philippines. And I went ahead of him because I had to look for a house. I knew that he was retiring. So I did, okay, FaceTime. And he looked at me and he looked and says, why do you have a child? Why do you have a baby in your arms? I said, here's the story. And then he says, dear, don't you dare fall in love. I said, I'm not. He says, we've raised our kids, we're done. I said, I know. But you know what? Oh my gosh, look at the scabs in her skin. Take her to the best pediatrician and let's find a family for her. And I said, yeah, that's what I'm doing over the weekend. I'm emailing, I'm texting, I'm letting, friends and family know. And so that's what I did. And he says, spare no expense, buy her some clothes and buy her this. And that's what I said. And I said, I'm going to the mall after Christmas. I cannot go to the mall right now with all the traffic. And so I emailed, I texted, and I said, hey guys, I took pictures and I sent it. And I said, hey guys, this is what happened. If any of you are inclined to adopting a child, bringing her into your home, here she is, it's a girl. And she's about this much in weight. I took her to pediatrician. And so, and I got a lot of email responses and they were telling me, God bless you, Maria, but no, I can't see you having a child in my life right now. We'll pray that you find someone. Texting and all that, still nothing. And I said, Lord, I promise you, I'm going to find a family that will teach her all about you, uh, to know you and to love you. And I promise they're going to be a nice, wonderful Christian family and all of that. So then, next thing you know, David, 2 days later, basically said, okay, um, you know what? I prayed about this, and God is saying she's for us. And I said, okay, you're willing to be a mom and dad? He says, you're willing to do that? And he says, yes, I am, if you are. And I said, okay. So that's what we did. The adoption took 8 years. We had to live in the Philippines to make that adoption happen.
Oh, so how old is she now?
She's now 12 years old. She was only 4 months old when she was given to us. And so fast forward, we came to America. I said, the family needs to meet her. So I want the siblings to meet her, not just through FaceTime and that. So I said, choose a state. So he chose North Carolina. And we got there excited to show her America. Within 4 months of being there, that was when David got sick. And within 4 weeks, he passed. And then he says, go back to Arizona because we used to live here. Go
Right.
back to Arizona. That's where friends and family are. And, I've taken care of you. You and Mia find a house. You're gonna have some money. That's what all of the stocks and investments that I've been doing is to help you and Mia. And I said, okay. So I came to Arizona. My friends, my family helped me find a house that was perfect for us. And we came here, and that was when the journey of, okay, I'm here. What next? What do I do? So I learned about grief and I got involved in the church and I got involved in the school, got busy with them. And that was when, after 1 year of online dating, and I learned, how men are and what they're looking for. And honestly, there's so many men that are lonely out there online. And, God bless them. And I had to look for the spark, the spark that I was looking for that I would connect with in order for me to move forward in my life. And of course, he had to be a Catholic. I mean, that was non-negotiable. So that was when, after 1 year of online dating, and that was when, I met Anthony and how everything just beautifully happened. I knew it was God that sent him to me. I knew it was Mother Mary because I said, Mother Mary, I would know he would be from you when it happens. And I knew in the third month that it was him.
Right.
And so when we got married, that was when I was experiencing so many different things about my new life, my new love, how different it is now with the second chance. And that's what gave me the inspiration to write the book
Right.
because there were so many widows and widowers that were asking me questions. How did you know it was him? How did you get started? How did you know? And just a lot of how. And I wrote about it in the book. And and so to here we are today, and I'm very excited at 67. I've got this book and I'm excited and sharing that hope. And so the three purposes that I have for the book, one is to help the churches in the Philippines. Second is to help the orphanage in the Philippines. I went to visit so many orphanages just to kind of
Right.
expose Mia to that environment. And I saw the children, oh, sadly, how the places were. And, if they could have better equipment for playground and their rooms and the bathroom and the kitchen, if I could have that extra stream of income to help this. And then thirdly, I met so many widows and widowers that have lost a lot of money because they were not prepared financially and there was not enough benefits to cover the loss, and they had to move back in with their family and siblings and children, and they don't have any money. So if I could create some kind of fund that if a widower would say, hey, if you could help me out, I'm wanting to do this, do that, then I would love to be able to give unconditionally.
So we only have about 5 more minutes left. Is how can somebody buy your book?
Yes. So this week I'm excited to share that Amazon's going to give me the link. I had to finish up some things about the book and the Amazon link. So I was told this week it should be done and finished, and I should have that link. They can find me on Facebook, Maria C. Lyons, author,
Right.
or they can email me at Maria Writes Faith at gmail.com. So
And
that's Maria Writes, WRITES, Faith, FAITH.com. I mean,
and and
gmail.com.
once you get the link, send it to me, and we can implant it right on this video.
Yes, I'll be happy to do that.
So actually, I probably should have to get you back on again at some point, and we will go a little bit further into just the nuts and bolts of what widows and widowers go through, and some of the some of what people, especially people who haven't walked in our shoes, what they
Exactly.
think it's like. So yeah, I'm gonna have you back on in the maybe the near future.
I would love that, Scott, because there are some more things that I can share for widows and widowers that could just help them with this journey.
Absolutely. So let's first we'll get the word out about your book, and then we'll have you back on, and we'll delve a bit deeper.
All right, wonderful. Well, it was a pleasure. It was enjoyable with you too.
And thank you for coming on, because a topic near and dear to my heart, and we our lives are quite parallel
And
in
they
many
are.
ways. So okay, thank you for coming on,
You're welcome.
and thank you for tuning in to another segment of the Northeast Kingdom Voice.